Alien Billionaire sees human janitor cleaning her disabled child. What she did next was. The tower was so tall that it pierced the thin glow of the planet's upper clouds. From the outside, it looked perfect, smooth metal walls, flowing lights, and symbols of wealth that could be seen from orbit. Inside, everything moved with silent precision. Machines cleaned the air. Guards walked in exact patterns. Servants spoke only when spoken to. At the very bottom of importance was a human janitor named Elias Carter. Elias worked the night shift. He always did. Humans were rarely allowed during daylight hours in places like this. Too many powerful beings, too many eyes. At night, the tower belonged to machines, shadows, and people no one noticed. Elias pushed his cleaning cart slowly across the marble floor of level 47. This level was strange. It was quiet in a way that felt heavy, not peaceful. No meetings happened here. No guests visited. Even guards avoided it when possible. This floor was for the billionaire's child. The alien owner of the tower, Valith Zora, was known across several star systems. She controlled shipping lanes, energy mines, and entire economies. Her mind was praised as brilliant, her wealth was endless, but her child was considered broken. The child's name was Sarah. Sarah was young by her species' standards. Her body was weak. Her movements were slow and uncoordinated. Her mind worked differently from others of her kind. The best doctors had tried. The most advanced machines had scanned her. The answer was always the same. No correction possible. Among Valith's people, this meant something worse than sickness. It meant failure. A flaw that could not be erased. So Sarah lived on level 47, cared for by machines and distant professionals who followed rules but never showed warmth. They fed her. They cleaned her. They monitored her. But they never stayed longer than required. Elias did not know most of this. He only knew that this floor always felt sad. He cleaned slowly, careful not to make noise. He had learned that sudden sounds upset the child. The machines did not care, but Elias did. That night, as he wiped a long window that showed the stars, he heard a soft sound behind him. Not a machine, a breath. Elias turned carefully. Sarah sat in a support chair near the wall. Her large eyes followed his movement. One of her hands trembled slightly. A cleaning drone hovered nearby, paused as if waiting for instructions it never received. Elias froze. He was not supposed to interact. Humans were allowed to clean, not to engage. But Sarah was struggling. A liquid stain marked the front of her clothing. Her breathing was uneven. Her face showed confusion, maybe fear. The drone's sensors blinked, but it did nothing. It had flagged the situation as non-critical. To Elias, it was very critical. He looked around. No guards. No cameras that he could see, though he knew they were always there. Slowly, he set his cleaning cloth down. He approached with open hands, just as he would with a frightened child back on Earth. His voice was low and calm. "It's okay," he said softly. "I'm here." Sarah did not understand his words, but she understood his tone. Her breathing slowed a little. Elias knelt beside her chair. He saw the problem clearly. The machines had failed to help with something very simple, very human, something embarrassing. Something that required patience, not programming. Elias hesitated only a moment. Then he began to help. He worked carefully, gently cleaning her, using warm water and soft cloths from his cart. He moved slowly, explaining each action even though she might not understand the language. "I won't hurt you," he said. "We'll take it slow." Sarah watched him closely. Her trembling eased. When he finished, he helped her into clean clothing, adjusting the fabric so it would not press uncomfortably against her skin. No machine had ever done that. When he was done, he did not leave right away. He wiped his hands and sat on the floor nearby, giving her space but staying present. Sarah made a small sound. Not pain, not fear, curiosity. Elias smiled without thinking. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small object, an old earth coin, worn smooth by years of touch. He rolled it across his knuckles, then let it disappear and reappear with a simple trick he had learned long ago. Sarah's eyes widened. Again, the small sound. Elias did it again, slower this time. He let her see where the coin went. He let her reach for it. Her fingers closed around the metal. She laughed. It was a quiet, uneven sound, but it was laughter. High above, in a private observation chamber, Valith Zora stopped walking. She had been reviewing financial projections, barely listening to her advisors. Her mind was always moving, always calculating, until one screen caught her eye. A silent alert had triggered when the janitor crossed an interaction threshold. She expected to see misconduct. Instead, she saw something she did not recognize, a human kneeling on the floor. Her child smiling. Valith moved closer to the screen. She watched as Elias cleaned Sarah with care no machine had shown. She watched him sit, not standing above, not rushing away. She watched Sarah's body relax, her eyes brighten. Valith felt something twist inside her chest. Anger came first, not at the human but at herself. She had paid for the best care. She had trusted systems and experts. And yet, a janitor had done more in minutes than all of them had in years. Below, Elias checked the time. He had stayed too long. Carefully, he stood and returned the coin to his pocket. "I have to go now," he said softly. "But you're not alone, okay?" Sarah did not want him to leave. She made a small sound and reached out. Elias paused, then he gently touched her hand. "I'll see you again," he said. He returned to his cart and resumed cleaning, his movements calm but his heart heavy. He knew he might be punished, fired at least, but he did not regret it. Above, Valith Zora whispered something no one had heard her say before. "Why did no one tell me this mattered?" The tower continued to shine, but for the first time, something inside it had changed. Valith Zora did not sleep that cycle. Sleep usually came easily to her. Her mind was trained to shut down when needed, to save energy for decisions that shaped markets and worlds. But now, every time she closed her eyes, she saw the same image. Her child smiling, not because of medicine, not because of machines, but because of a human janitor kneeling on the floor. Valith stood alone in her private chamber, watching the recording again. She slowed it. She replayed small moments. The way the human moved his hands, the way he waited, the way he stayed after the task was done. He did not rush. No one else ever stayed. She paused the image when Sarah laughed. The sound echoed in her memory. It was imperfect, uneven, but real. Valith realized with a sharp ache that she could not remember the last time she had heard that sound. "Bring me his file," she said. A soft voice answered from the air. "Yes, Director." Moments later, information filled the room. Name: Elias Carter. She felt irritation rise, not at him but at the emptiness of the file. There was nothing special here, no advanced training, no rare genetic trait, just human. "Expand personal history," she ordered. The system obeyed. Elias had grown up in a coastal city on Earth. Natural disasters, economic collapse, loss, community shelters, shared food, shared care, elderly relatives, disabled neighbors. Valith frowned. The system highlighted a section marked caregiving experience. It was not formal. He had helped his grandmother walk, cleaned his younger brother when illness left him weak, volunteered at community centers, learned patience not from instruction but from necessity. Valith leaned back slowly. Her species did not grow up like this. Children were raised by systems. Weakness was removed early or hidden away. Dependency was seen as inefficiency. She realized something uncomfortable. Her people had never learned how to care. Below, on level 47, Elias pushed his cart down the hallway again. He expected alarms. He expected guards. He expected to be told he was no longer welcome. None of that happened. The floor was quiet as always. The machines hummed softly. Sarah sat in her chair near the window, staring at the stars. When she saw Elias, her eyes widened. She made the small sound again. Elias stopped. He swallowed. I'm just here to clean, he said, more to himself than to her. He moved slowly, keeping distance, but Sarah watched him the entire time. When he passed close, her hand lifted slightly, unsteady. Elias hesitated. He looked up at the nearest camera. Nothing happened. Carefully, he stepped closer. I can't stay long, he whispered, but I can say hello. Sarah's fingers brushed his sleeve. That was enough. High above, Valith watched in silence. She had ordered the security team not to interfere. She told herself it was observation, research, but when she saw her child's hand reach out, her chest tightened. She remembered how she had avoided this floor for so long, how she had told herself it was mercy, how she had let machines replace presence. The truth burned. It had been easier not to feel. Later that cycle, Valith summoned her chief medical advisor. The advisor stood stiffly, avoiding direct eye contact. You told me there was nothing more to be done, Valith said. That is correct, the advisor replied. The condition cannot be corrected. Valith tilted her head. I did not ask about correction. The advisor hesitated. My child is calmer, Valith continued. More responsive, happier, explain. The advisor paused, then spoke carefully. Emotional changes can occur due to environmental variation. Environmental, Valith repeated. You mean a human, silence. You allowed a janitor to do what trained professionals did not, Valith said. Her voice was quiet but dangerous. Why? The advisor lowered their gaze. It was not within protocol to stop him. Valith felt a cold clarity settle over her. Protocols, always protocols. From now on, she said, no protocol overrides observation. The advisor stiffened. Director, this sets a precedent. Yes, Valith replied. That is the point. Word spread quickly among the tower staff. The human janitor was being watched. Some whispered that he would be removed. Others said worse. Elias felt the change in the air. Guards looked at him longer. Drones followed his cart more closely. He kept his head down and worked. But every night he still went to level 47. He did not always touch. Sometimes he just sat nearby and talked softly while he cleaned. He described Earth's skies, rain, wind, small, ordinary things. Sarah listened. Her responses were small but growing, a turn of the head. A sound, a reach. The machines recorded everything, and so did Valith. She began to visit the observation chamber more often. She canceled meetings. She delayed decisions that once felt urgent. Her advisors noticed. So did her rivals. Your focus is slipping, one associate warned during a private call. You are allowing sentiment to interfere. Valith ended the call without response. Sentiment. She watched Elias help Sarah drink slowly, pausing when her hands shook. She watched him wait instead of correct. Allow instead of force. This was not weakness, it was skill. Valith began to ask herself a question she had never considered before. What if her species had been wrong? Not about technology, not about intelligence, but about value. Late in the cycle, Valith finally went to level 47 in person. She did not announce herself. She stood in the doorway and watched. Elias was sitting on the floor again, rolling the old coin between his fingers. Sarah followed it with full attention now. Her laughter came easier. Valith felt her throat tighten. She stepped forward. Elias looked up and froze. He stood immediately, lowering his head. I'm sorry, he said quickly. I didn't mean... Stop, Valith said. Her voice was calm. Elias stopped. She walked past him and knelt in front of her child. Sarah looked at her mother, uncertain. Valith hesitated. Then slowly, awkwardly, she reached out. Sarah did not pull away. For the first time, Valith felt the warmth of her child's hand. She looked up at Elias. Why, she asked. Elias swallowed. Because someone should. Valith held that answer in silence. Outside the tower, forces were already moving. Other elites were noticing changes. Questions were forming. Resistance was coming. But in that quiet room, one truth had already taken root. A human had reminded a powerful civilization what care meant. And nothing would be the same again. Change never arrived loudly in the tower. It came in silence. Meetings were delayed. Decisions were questioned. Advisors spoke more carefully around Valith Zora. They noticed her attention drifting, not toward profits or expansion, but toward something smaller, toward one quiet floor, toward one human, and that made them uneasy. Elias felt it first. The guards on level 47 changed. New ones, their posture was tighter, their eyes followed him longer. The cleaning drones adjusted their paths to stay closer, always watching. No one said anything, but Elias understood warning when he felt it. Still, every night he returned. He knew he should be afraid. Humans did not have protection here. One complaint from the wrong person and he would disappear from the tower, maybe from the station entirely. But when he reached level 47 and saw Sarah waiting, fear became smaller. Sarah had changed. She was more alert now. Her eyes tracked movement with focus. She made sounds more often, clearer. Sometimes she tried to copy Elias' words, though they came out broken and soft. Elias celebrated every attempt. "That was good," he said gently. "You did great." He did not realize the cameras had increased resolution. High above, Valith watched as advisors argued in her council chamber. "This has gone too far," one of them said. "The human presence is disrupting established order." Another added, "Other elites are asking questions." "They see weakness." Valith stood near the window looking out at the stars. "They see fear," she said calmly, "and they fear what they do not understand." "This is about more than your child," a senior advisor said carefully. "Humans are labor. If you elevate one, you elevate them all." Valith turned slowly. "Is that a threat?" she asked. The advisor stiffened. "It is a warning." Valith dismissed the meeting, but the warning stayed. Across the station, word spread. Other powerful figures began to speak openly. Humans were getting ideas. Humans were being treated like equals. Humans were influencing elite households. This could not continue. A formal complaint was filed. It arrived as a clean, polite message. Subject: improper interaction with non-human minor. She ordered Elias to be brought to a private chamber. When the guards arrived at level 47, Sarah sensed the change immediately. Her breathing became uneven. She reached for Elias' sleeve, fingers tight. "It's okay," Elias whispered. "I'll be back." He did not know if that was true. The chamber was large and empty except for Valith. Elias stood straight, hands at his sides. "I'm sorry if I broke rules," he said quickly. "I never meant—" "You helped my child," Valith said. "Yes," Elias replied, "I did." "Why?" she asked again. Elias took a breath. "Because she needed help, and no one else was helping." Silence filled the room. "You understand that others see this as a problem," Valith said. Elias nodded. "I figured. They believe you are challenging our way of life." Elias hesitated, then spoke honestly. "I'm not trying to challenge anyone, I'm just doing what humans do." "And what is that?" Valith asked. "We take care of each other," he said simply. "Even when it's hard, especially when it's hard." Valith studied him. There was no pride in his voice, no demand, just truth. "They want me to remove you," she said. Elias' chest tightened, but he did not argue. "If that's what you decide," he said quietly, "I understand." Valith turned away. She thought of Sarah's laughter, her calmer sleep. The way she reached for warmth now instead of shrinking away. She thought of a future where that disappeared again. "No," Valith said. She faced him. "I will not remove you." Elias looked up, surprised. "But understand this," she continued. "If I protect you, the pressure will increase. On you, on humans, on my child." Elias did not answer right away. Then he said, "Then let them see." "See what?" Valith asked. "That caring isn't weakness," he said. "It's work, real work." The next cycle, Valith made a decision that shocked the station. She invited observers, medical experts, social analysts, even rivals. She opened level 47. They watched from behind transparent barriers as Elias worked. They expected chaos. They saw patience. They saw Sarah respond not as a broken thing but as a person learning in her own way. The experts whispered, This violates classification models. She is improving without correction. That should not be possible, Valith addressed them all. You built systems to erase weakness, she said. Humans learn to live with it. A rival elite stepped forward. You risk contamination of culture, Valith's voice was steady, or evolution of it. The backlash was immediate, trade threats, political pressure. Accusations of emotional instability. Humans across the station felt it. Shifts were cut, access restricted. Some were removed from elite areas entirely. Elias heard the rumors and felt guilt twist inside him. This was because of him. That night he sat quietly on the floor, not playing with the coin. Sarah noticed. She reached out and placed her hand on his. It was clumsy, slow, but intentional. Elias felt his eyes burn. "You're helping me now," he whispered. Above them, Valith watched and made her final choice. She sent a public broadcast. "My child is not a failure," she said, "and neither are those who care for her. From this moment, humans will no longer be treated as invisible labor within my holdings." The message echoed across systems. Some laughed, some threatened, some listened. On level 47, Elias did not know any of this yet. He only knew that for the first time, Sarah had helped him feel less alone. And that scared the powerful more than any weapon ever could. The reaction was faster than Valith Zora expected. Some worlds cut trade links. Some elites issued formal protests. Some stations removed humans from public roles overnight. But something else happened too. People watched. Across the network, recordings spread. Not speeches, not arguments, just footage. A human janitor sitting on the floor. An alien child laughing. Care given without command, payment, or pride. And people noticed what could not be measured by data. Sarah continued to change. Not in the way doctors like to measure. Her condition was still there. Her body was still weak. Her movements still slow. But she was present now. She looked at faces. She reached for hands. She reacted with purpose. Machines recorded improvement they could not explain, and that made many uncomfortable. On level 47, Elias felt the weight of attention more than ever. Guards saluted him now awkwardly. Staff whispered his name. Some avoided him entirely. He did not like it. He still wore the same uniform, still pushed the same cart. He still knelt instead of stood over Sarah. One evening, Sarah did something new. Elias was speaking softly about Earth, about the ocean, how waves came again and again, no matter what stood in their way. Sarah listened. Then slowly she lifted her hand and pointed at the stars beyond the window. "Again," she said. The word was rough, broken, but it was a word. Elias froze. He did not speak. He did not move. He only smiled. Above them, Valith heard the word through the monitors. Her legs weakened. She sat down hard, one hand covering her mouth. Her child had spoken, not because she was fixed, but because she was heard. The medical council demanded an emergency review. "This proves nothing," one expert said. "Anomaly does not equal model failure." Valith stood calmly. "Your models never included care." Silence followed. She continued, "You built systems to remove need. Humans learned to respond to it." A vote was called to restrict human interaction again. Valith did something no one expected. She opened her doors wider. She invited caregivers from Earth, teachers, support workers, ordinary humans with no titles. They came nervous, small against towering halls, but they came. And they did what they always did. They adapted. Other children on the station began to respond, not cured, not corrected, but calmer, more engaged, less afraid. Alien families watched in disbelief as humans sat on floors, told stories, waded through silence, celebrated tiny progress like it mattered. Because to humans it always had. Opposition grew louder. "This is weakness spreading," rivals warned. "You are reshaping society around failure." Valith answered publicly. "No," she said, "we are reshaping it around life." Pressure became threat. An alliance of elites moved to remove her leadership by legal force. Her empire trembled. Elias learned of it late through whispers. He went to Valeth's chamber without being summoned. He stood awkwardly at the door. "I heard they're trying to take everything from you," he said. Valeth studied him. And if this is too much trouble," Elias continued carefully, "I can leave. I don't want Sarah hurt because of me." Valeth's eyes hardened, not with anger but certainty. "You will not leave," she said. She stepped closer. "My people built towers and called it strength. You sat on the floor and showed me real power." Elias did not know what to say. "I will not trade my child's life for approval," Valeth said, "and I will not trade truth for comfort." The confrontation came soon after. In a massive virtual assembly, Valeth faced her challengers. They listed losses, risks, cultural damage. She listened. Then she showed them footage, not speeches, moments. A child learning to drink without fear, a caregiver waiting instead of forcing, a human janitor being held by an alien child who trusted him. "You call this failure," Valeth said. "I call it survival." The vote was taken. Valeth retained control by a narrow margin, not because they agreed, but because too many had begun to doubt themselves. After that, change did not explode. It spread quietly. One station allowed human caregivers. Another adjusted protocols. Another stopped hiding their children. Humanity's roles shifted, not conquerors, not rulers, caretakers of what others had forgotten. Years later, the tower was different. Level 47 was no longer hidden. It was a place of learning. Sarah was older now, still disabled, still imperfect, still laughing. Elias still worked there, no longer just a janitor, but he kept the uniform anyway. Sarah liked it. One evening, as stars burned quietly outside, Sarah looked up at him. "Again," she said. Elias smiled and sat on the floor. "Yeah," he said, "again." High above, the galaxy watched humanity with new eyes. They did not fear human weapons. They feared something far stronger. Humans who refused to look away.